finish up Leo. All right, let's finish up Leo. We're going to begin on page 127. So as soon as I don't know if you all can hear that, but if you hear the construction, the saw, it wasn't happening. But now here it is. But anyway, let's work through it. So here we are, page 127. I need to backtrack because there's a footnote that I wasn't able to get in the previous video. So let's go ahead and get that footnote in, okay? But there's not a lot to cover today. Well, in this video, only about 3 or 4 paragraphs. All right. So listen, let's go back to page 126. Now I'm going to read through this, the paragraph at the bottom, and then I'll read through the footnote. Okay. So I want to have this in the video. All right. So let's begin. In the constellation Leo, there are a number of stars whose names, as interpreted by Sess et al., reflect the transfiguration incident quite strikingly. The second star in Leo is Al-Gibba, said to be the exalted, the exaltation. So that's in the same as JC, especially during the transfiguration, right? Okay, he's exalted. He's acknowledged as being the Most High's son, all right? And he has Moses and Elijah standing next to him, all right? Co-signing. Come on. All right? So they're co-signing that he is the Most High's son. So he's being exalted. He's in the exaltation state, all right? While the second star, I'm going to repeat that, while Zosma, Z-O-S-M-A, situated near the lion's tail, situated near Leo's tail, is the shining forth, the epiphany, and which we may dismiss these as fanciful. Let me repeat that. And while we may dismiss these names, these meanings, as fanciful or anachronistic, there can be no doubt about the appropriateness of the names of the constellation's principal star. So in other words, the author is saying, well, you can question Al-Gibba, Zosma, okay? He says he'll give you that. But the principal star, no doubt about it. And that is the principal star called Regulus. The king, Christ the king, y'all got it? Sometimes called Corleonis, the heart of the lion. Allen writes, Regulus was so called by Capricornus, well, I'm sorry, not Capricornus, but Copernicus, rather, as a diminutive of the earlier Rex. It's very difficult to concentrate with all this noise, but usually inside I can do it, but it's so many people in there I decided to come outside. But anyway, let's get through it and see how it turns out. All right, so no noise while I'm being quiet. Let's see what happens when I begin to teach, to present. All right. Okay, so Regulus was called by Copernicus a diminutive of the earlier Rex, equivalent to the Greek, this Greek word of Ptolemy. I'm not going to read it because I don't have a clue on how to pronounce that, but I'll show it to you. All right. Thus, as Sharu the king, it marked the 15th ecliptic constellation of Babylon. All right, so it's the 15th ecliptic. The ecliptic is the path of the sun. Okay, so Regulus is right there at the ecliptic. That's what's being said here. In the Babylonian system, Regulus or Rex is the 15th constellation at the ecliptic, okay? That's the path of the sun's annual orbit. All right, the ecliptic. In India, Rex was called Magha, the mighty. In Sangdiana, Mag, the great. In Persia, Mayan, the center. Among the Turanian races, Masu, the hero. And in Acadia, it was associated with the 5th antediluvian king of the celestial sphere, Amil Gaor. In Arabia, it was Maliki, kingly. In Greece, another Greek word, I'm not going to read it, but I don't know how to pronounce it. In Rome, Basilica Stella. With Pliny, Regia, or Regia. In the revival of European astronomy, it's called Rex. And with Tycho, Basilicus. This is coming from Allen, page 255 through 256. All right. Next paragraph. The very ancient and widespread association of this star with kingship, that's Regulus Rex, and glory stems from its status as the leader of the so-called quote-unquote royal stars. Regulus Fomalhaut. Okay, so there's an asterisk at Fomalhaut. So let's go. This is the footnote I wanted to read for you guys. So Fomalhaut, the star called Fomalhaut. Fomalhaut is found in the constellation Pisces Australis, which lies opposite of Leo and is one of the deacons of Aquarius. So Fomalhaut, if you remember, is a deacon of Aquarius. It's opposite, you can find it opposite of Pisces. All right, let me read that again. Fomalhaut is found in the constellation Pisces Australis, which lies opposite Leo, and is one of the deacons of Aquarius. That is correct. Its Arabic name means the fish's mouth. So Fomalhaut in Arabic means fish's mouth. So when you hear fish, you should think Dogon, okay? You should think Dogon and Raphaim o Annis. And while there is no corresponding Greek or Roman name in Ptolemy or Manilius' work, Allen says that the fish's mouth has long been the common name for the star called Fomalhaut. This helps to explain why J.C. tells Peter, notice this, this helps to explain why J.C. tells Peter that he will find a coin in a fish's mouth with which to pay the temple tax. Okay? This curious story, found only in Matthew, comes just after the account of the transfiguration. All right? So that's Matthew chapter 7, verse 24 through 27. Okay, so Fomalhaut is called the fish's mouth in Arabic. This is why JC told, was it Peter? Yes, JC told Peter that he would find a coin in the fish's mouth to pay the temple tax. All right, so y'all got all of these relationships. So this is another piece of evidence that the Gospels are astrology or astral theology. All right. So now let's get into the subheading that I want to get into today, in this video rather. The boy with the unclean spirit. The boy with the unclean spirit. When JC comes down the mountain and returns to his disciples, he finds a great crowd has gathered. A man has brought his son to be healed, but the disciples of JC seem powerless, and the man approaches JC himself, begging him to cure his son, who he says is oppressed by a dumb spirit. Okay? Who is oppressed by a dumb spirit, which regularly takes hold of him, causing him to foam at the mouth and gnash his teeth. How long has this been going on? Asked JC. From childhood, replies the man. It often throws him into the fire and into the water, trying to destroy him. JC tells him that all these things are possible to one who has faith. And that is what we need to take note of. All these things are possible to one who has faith. And the man utters the famous words, quote, Lord, I believe. Help thou mine unbelief, end quote. Then JC rebukes the spirit. So JC rebukes the dumb spirit, which convulses the young boy, the lad, before coming out of him and leaving him as if dead. So the dumb spirit gave the little boy convulsions and left his body. And the little boy looked there looking like he was dead. JC takes the young man by the hand and lifts him up, and then tells the young man, and then tells the astonished disciples that this kind of spirit can only be exorcised by prayer and fasting. What kind of spirit? A dumb spirit. A dumb spirit can only be exorcised. This is for the dummies. A dumb spirit can only be exorcised by prayer and fasting. That's for the dummies. I hope you got what I'm hinting at. Hopefully you get what I'm hinting at. All right, let's continue. Mark's version of this story illustrates the importance of faith. The importance of faith. Okay, don't forget about the dumb spirit. A characteristic quality of all three fire signs, but particularly of Leo. Remember, Leo is when the sun is at its most intense, or the most intensely hot, right, in terms of the heat radiating to the earth. Okay, Leo. And Sagittarius. Quote, if the affirmation of Cancer is I fear, then the affirmation of Leo is I have faith, writes Charles Carter, page 9, in the year 1960, published 1965, page 71. But faith in this context, notice this, y'all, but faith in this context cannot possibly mean faith in doctrines. Let me say that again. Faith in this context cannot possibly mean faith in doctrines, or even faith in JC the Christ figure. I'm reading this on page 128. Let me show it. Okay, so I am not making it up. Hopefully y'all can see that. Pause the video and read it. Download the PDF. You'll be able to read it for yourself. Okay? Now this is a reverend, man of the cloth. Okay, but faith in this context cannot possibly mean, quote, faith in doctrines, unquote, or even, quote, faith in JC the Christ figure. Now, why can't it mean that? Well, we already went through it. I'll come back, but let's go through this. We'll come back to it. All right, so this faith refers to a particular kind of confidence in one's own power as a child of capital G-O-D, the power of Christ within. Did y'all hear that? Let's do it one more again. Let's do it one more again. But faith in this context cannot mean, quote unquote, faith in doctrines, or even, quote unquote, faith in JC the Christ figure. Faith here refers to a particular kind of confidence in one's own power. Y'all hear that? Faith here means confidence in your own power as a child of capital G-O-D. The power of the Christ within. In the light of which everything is possible. So here we see an acknowledgement that you are your own Savior. We see that acknowledged in Christianity right here. Psalms 82:6. And JC said the same thing, right? He said the same thing. That you are, quote unquote, or quantitatively speaking, God's. You create your own reality. You must solve your own problems. You must create your own opportunities. And you've been given everything at birth to do it. The problem is that you've been hypnotized and programmed to not understand, not know that information. You've been programmed and hypnotized to think and believe that you need an external deity to save you, that you need to pray and appease an external deity to come in and solve your problems and to give you the things that you need to be happy and to survive and be comfortable and at peace in this life. That is absolutely not the case. It is you, the Christ within. You heard? The Christ within. Okay, all right. Let's continue. It is not a question of whether I can help you, says JC the Christ figure to the man. It's more to do with whether you can help yourself. It's more to do, and this is a quote, it's more to do with whether you can help yourself, end quote. That's verse 23. The implication being that any man, let me repeat that. The implication, or what is implied, is that any power JC might possess, or any power that JC had, or will have. is available to anyone who, through spiritual discipline, now this is where I disagree, it's available to any man or woman. It is available to anyone who, through spiritual discipline, which he's defining here as quote unquote prayer and fasting, and I strongly disagree with that, comes to realize his or her own essential divinity. All right, so again, that's Psalms 82:6, right? So is it clear? Is it becoming easier for you to accept, to stomach, tolerate that you are your own savior, you are the power, you're the captain of your own ship, right? Your destiny is in your hands, your lifestyle, your quality of life, everything that you relate to you and your condition, you're in control of that. You can change it or keep it the same, or you can make it worse or better. It's all up to you, but you need to know what? You need to know that you are divine. You need to know, understand, accept, and use that you are your own, connotatively speaking, God. You're your own savior. You're your own creator. You create your own circumstances and situations. You create your own problems. You create your own solutions to your problems. You create your own sufferings. Everything you create. Now, are there other people, circumstances, and situations that contribute to it? Of course there are. Of course there are. Right? So it's a what? It's an inter-exchange. It's a dance. Right? It's a dance. But when you find yourself around toxic people, you best believe you better get rid of them. Or not get rid of them, but get away from them as much as you can. All right? You need to think, and that's also in your ability to do it, because what you want, you can produce. Yes, you don't have to say anything to them. I remember Napoleon Hill said in his book, Thinking Rich, he talked about one of the ways that you can get toxic people out of your life without even talking to them. And that's to will them out. Think them out of your mind. See them as being out of your life. In other words, use your mind power. Okay? And eventually they will vanish. Probably very soon, sooner than you think. All right? They'll be gone out of your life. Okay, now let's continue. I hope everyone can appreciate what we're dealing with, the importance of this. This is life-changing if you apply it. Stop praying to these external deities. Okay, let me review something. The author writes here. The author writes here, it is more to do. Let me start from the beginning. It is not a question of whether I can help you, says JC. So in other words, it's not about faith in JC or even faith in the Father, right? And when I say Father, I'm not acknowledging any deity as my Father. Don't get it twisted. I'm speaking in language that most of you religious people can understand. The implication being that any power JC, the Christ figure, might possess is available to anyone who, through spiritual discipline, and in parentheses, quote, prayer and fasting, end quote, comes to realize is his or her own essential divinity. What is this telling us? It's telling you to pray to your external deity. That's what prayer is, right? Pray to your external deity. And y'all know how prayer usually goes. Prayer is usually begging. Prayer is usually begging. When you're begging, you're coming from a very low vibration, right? That's a very low vibration, and you're scared, you're afraid. You're not coming from a position of power, strength, and confidence, certainty. That's high vibration, right? So you're praying to the external deity to give you something, to do something for you, forgive you something material, whatever. And what else does it say? Fasting. Now I'm curious, does he mean fasting? What's included in the definition of fasting here? Is it fasting from physical food that you're fasting from? Are you fasting from, let's say, sexual intercourse? What are you fasting from? Fasting is very broad, but let's just assume he's talking about food for the sake of conversation. All right, for the sake of conversation. Or is he saying fast, turn your brain off? Turn your brain off and accept the Christian doctrine, whatever part of Christianity you're in. Read the books, accept everything, don't question anything, go on an intellectual fast and pray more. So clearly I strongly disagree with all of that. Now, if he's talking about a fast from physical food, for example, a water fast, well, that's extremely helpful. In my opinion, everybody should water fast, right? I know I do. I've done a 12-day water fast, my first one, and my second one was a 45-day water fast. Okay? So I know what the benefit is, I know what the experience is. But you can be sure, the spiritual discipline, if you remember, is prayer, forgetting about your own needs and thinking about other people's needs, and reading, studying the doctrine, and going out and recruiting other people into your church, camp, or assembly. They call it ministry, right? Y'all hear that? So the author is saying you need to do all of that and even more. You need to forget about yourself. Well, if you forget about yourself, how are you going to be focused on your goal or objective in life? How are you going to turn your brain on, or the creative faculty of your brain, which requires that you have a clearly defined goal and an image of you achieving that goal? And the feelings, and that you experience the feelings of having achieved the goal. Not only of having achieved it, but the positive feelings about all of your action steps that you take, the outcomes and action steps, to be positive, emotionally positive about all of the activities that you've done, that you will do, and that you're doing. You need to be mostly positive, feeling positive feelings. Okay? If that's not the case, then your creative mechanism will be hampered, slowed down, interfered with, disrupted. All right? Self-sabotaged. So Christianity, the Christian doctrine, is telling you don't think about you. Think about other people. Think about other people. And that usually comes with what? An oath of poverty. An oath of poverty. How can you help someone if you don't have any Federal Reserve notes or anything tangible? All you got is a Bible and a doctrine. Who are you going to help? So, for example, you know, let's say me, I'm walking down the street, I see a homeless woman. And trust me, there's plenty all over the world. You see a homeless woman, maybe mental illness, whatever. And I'm walking, I see the lady. And here comes one of these religious people. Let's say a Hebrew Israelite, or a Christian like a JW, or a priest, a rabbi, and an imam. We all just so happen to see this woman homeless. And everybody appears to have compassion and concern. So the religious people there say, oh, you know, pray more, come to our church, come to our mass, come to our camp, and you can learn about whatever they're going to say, right? And I'm going to pray for you to get a house. We're going to pray for you to get on your feet. We're going to pray that you can get everything that you need. Okay? Now, is that helping? But me, I reach in my pocket and I give her some Vietnam dong. That's like money. Or I give her some Philippine pesos, right? Or some Mexican pesos. I give some Singaporean dollars, some Canadian dollars, some Chinese yuan, Japanese yen. All right, or Federal Reserve notes. I give her, let's say, 50 or 100 bucks, and say, hey, look, go buy yourself a pair of shoes and a blanket and some food for tonight. If you got whatever you got left over, maybe you might want to get yourself a place to stay, or give her 150 bucks, whatever. You'd be straight for a couple days. Who really helped her? Who really helped her? That I'm gonna pray for you, guys. Okay? And if that woman ever got herself together, she starts going to the church, camp, synagogue, whatever, it's just a matter of time before they're going to expect a tithe from her. As soon as she get herself together, she's going to have to cough up that monthly tithe. Because their deity always needs money, right? Always needs some fiat. Okay, now let's continue. So my point is this. If you follow this doctrine, thinking about other people more than yourself, you're going to fall in the gutter. You're going to be poor and destroy your life. You need to focus on what you want out of life and what you want to do. Specific, concrete goals. Timelines that you will achieve them by. Feelings that you will feel when you achieve them, and in the process as you do your action steps to achieve your milestones. People who can help you. And what you can do for those people to get them to help you or to keep them helping you, or just as a way to put something back good to them for what they're doing for you. People don't help people for nothing. And if they do, it won't last. You got to do something to improve other people's life, to help them achieve what they want to achieve, okay? So you need to make a list of all those things that you can do for people or for anybody, organizations. Give them a reason to help you and to continue helping you. Okay, give them a reason. Be a quote unquote, be a gift. Let me put it like that. Be a gift to people. All right? Be a gift, always giving. It doesn't have to be tangible. Okay? It could be in the form of helping people achieve their action steps and their goals. You can do that. That doesn't cost anything. All right? So that's how we should be, so that we can then change our self-image and how we see ourselves. Right? See ourselves as glorious, spectacular, magnificent. I can do anything. Okay? Anything. I can solve any problem. I can overcome any obstacle. That's our mindset, what it needs to be. And we need to see ourselves as what? Divine. Deities, gods. Psalm 82:6. Anything short of that, you're playing yourself. Okay? You're playing yourself. That's what this text is telling us. Again, JC says, to the man who had the son with the dumb spirit on him, who caused him to have convulsions, threw him in the fire to try to consume him, kill him, threw him in the water to cause him pain, try to kill him. So it's not about if you believe. It's a question of whether you're willing to help yourself. And self-help comes first in the mind. And most powerfully, when you know who you are. That means know your nationality. Knowing your nationality means knowing what? Knowing what? Your bloodline, the laws that govern, that you're supposed to adhere to. With us is natural law. What else? And what things belong to you? Right? What belongs to you? If you're Genesis chapter 2, that's the earth, the resources, the energy, so on and so forth. All right? So on and so forth. That's what belongs to you. And that's yours to pass on to your youngins and to share with whomever you want to share it with. You must know who you are. And that you're born with the faculty to create anything you want. All right, so you have all of these resources, the earth, the energies, natural resources. Okay, go make something. Go use that, make something. Develop your brain, master the sciences, and then start creating. Get involved in engineering works. Right? It doesn't have to be money oriented. That's the problem. Too many people are chasing fiat. You don't want to make anything unless you can sell it. All right? That's a no good place to be. Okay, no good place to be. Follow your interest. You want to make something, make it. All right? If somebody wants to buy it, that's even better. Right? But follow your interest. Follow what's inside. So start creating. Stop arguing over Bible doctrine. Most of that don't make any sense because a lot of it is injected. Not even in the original documents. It's been edited or it's just thrown in there from out of nowhere. You're reading it in English and you're arguing about it. Not only arguing, but publicly arguing about it. In the form of debates. Okay? Makes absolutely no sense. Where does that get you? Absolutely nowhere. Okay? You don't even have your own literature. Nothing. You're They complain about Esau and the oppressor, but yet they choose to be dependent on their literature. Y'all see how crazy that is? So get out here and make something. Publish books. Create create buildings. Get into architectural design. Do what our ancestors were doing. Study the skies and create buildings and structures that reflect the heavens. You can do everything. But get out of the Negro, Black, nigga, Latino, Native American, get out of all of that stuff. All right? And start to use what you were given, which is your God faculty or your creative faculty. All right? Right now in religion, it's turned off. That's why many of you are experiencing oppression and hardship constantly. Okay? So appreciate that you are and you have, I'm going to come from the book, quote, the power of Christ within you. Acknowledge that and appreciate it. And don't stop there. Use it. Okay? Don't be scared. All right? Yes, when you're failing, when you expect to be oppressed, doing things that can lead to success can be very scary. Scary enough for most people not to even try. Okay? All right? So the Christ, the power of the Christ within, and anything that the Christ did do, is doing, or will do, you can do it also. Because you are the Christ. All right? So get off your knees and off your stomach. Get out of Christianity and all of these religions. Stand up. Now I'm talking to you if you're Genesis chapter 2. If you're Genesis chapter 2, if you are the land, if you are a Moor, the rightful heir, get off your knees and off your stomach. Stand up. Be a man, be a woman. Take back, reclaim that which is yours, which is first your nationality, your status, and natural law. Step back into life. Step back into life. Religion is darkness, it is death. We went through this a million times. Okay, the Raphaim, the world of the dead, so on and so forth. So get out of that. Face it. Whatever fear, whatever loss you might have to endure, work your way up so that you can stand up into the glorious light, that the magnificent status and position that was given to you for free at birth. The implication being that any power JC might possess is available to anyone who, through spiritual discipline, scratch that off. Forget about that spiritual discipline. No. It's available to anyone who is willing to return to the ways of their ancient foremothers and forefathers, following nature, natural law. The Most High's commandments are natural law, and then finding out first who you are and accepting who you are. Developing a positive self-image. See, a negative self-image cannot receive the quote-unquote blessings of Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. Cannot. They'll destroy it. Or destroy themselves. Period. And that's a fact. You must change your mindset, okay? And that is done through thought and action reinforces the thought. And now you get a cycle, all right? This is what you have to do. As scary or as difficult or as easy as it may seem, it's the repetition that will get you there, all right? So forget about that spiritual discipline. Forget about that. Return to the Most High. Return to nature. Natural law. Accept who you are. Understand, know your nationality. Master the sciences like our ancestors used to do. Not just one science, but master all of your sciences. And then teach it to your youngins and your kin. All right? This is how you exercise the power of Christ. Not through any spiritual discipline, no. And only then will you be able to appreciate your true divinity. Psalms 82:6. It is the paltriness of our self-understanding which renders us impotent. That's a very fancy way of saying you don't know yourself, therefore you don't have any power to influence the quality of your life. It is the paltriness of our self-understanding. In other words, you don't know yourself. You don't know anything about you. Someone were to ask you your nationality, you say, I'm a Christian, or I'm black, I'm African American. All right? Or you'll say that you need God to help you. You'll go pray to a God. That's what he's talking about. Cowering in the face of adversity. Y'all see that? Because you don't know that you are divine. Psalms 82:6. Because you don't know that. You crumble when you're faced with adversity. You get scared. You cuss your wife out. You beat your kids. You kick your dog. You quit your job. You self-sabotage. Quote, man is a god in ruins, end quote. Says Emerson. Y'all know Emerson is a famous author and philosopher. Man is a god in ruins. Notice he didn't say human. Notice he didn't say humans. Emerson lived a long time ago. Quote unquote, man is a lowercase g, God in ruins. That means you don't know who you are. You don't even know that you are a God. You've been destroyed, ruined. Says Emerson, and only when we reacquaint ourselves with our true nature will we be able to exercise those powers which are our birthright. I wonder if this guy was a Moor. Why is he talking like that? Birthrights. The hybrid has no birthright. And believe it or not, they know it. This is page 128. Check that out. The very last, somewhere around here where my finger is, the very last 2 or 3 sentences. Okay, y'all can pause the video and read that. All right. So man is a god in ruins. Doesn't that sound like Genesis chapter 2? Doesn't that sound like Deuteronomy chapter 28, 15 through 68? Right? Birthright, estate. Y'all know birthright. Rights are short for birthright, right? Only then will he be able to exercise those powers which are his birthright, which are his rights. Y'all know that's in the Constitution for the United States of North America. You do know that, right? You do know that. Has to do with state powers. All right? Okay? Y'all follow me? But not just the state, but also you, the sovereign, the beneficiary. Yes, those powers are reserved for you that are not specifically listed in the Constitution for the United States of North America. Those powers are reserved to you. But you've been juked out of it. You think they're reserved only for the state. And I often wonder if reserving them to the states was added in there. I wonder if the original text, the original document, said that those powers are reserved to the people. I wonder. Maybe I'm wrong, but we definitely see a motive for them to inject that into the Constitution, right? Because that gives them power. But either way, those reserved powers are reserved to the state and for the people. Okay? And the people are superior to the state. But none of that matters because right now they're not providing a Republican form of government. It's a democracy. Okay? So the people have ultimate power. If you knew who you are, if you know who you are, now you can bring in what? You can bring peace and friendship, right? 1836. Okay? That's your right, that's your power. Supreme power. Christ within, the power of Christ. In these days, when a reputable scientist can declare, quote, I think we can follow the basic law of nature, which is that we're a bunch of chemical reactions running around in a bag. That's a quote from Dean Hammer, quoted in Time magazine on page 29 in November of 2004. And when politicians of right and left can view people as expendable economic entities, the gospel teaching about the inherent divinity of the human being needs to be affirmed with all the energy we can muster. All right? So in other words, they're coming down hard. Okay? Science and the corporations are coming down hard. And you to protect yourself. They've reduced you to chattel. They reduce you to nothing but a bunch of chemical reactions and human resources to be exploited for economic gain. In other words, slaves, right? Property, animals, farm animals. And many of y'all, unfortunately, behave just like that. Y'all ran out there and let the people poke you. Even though you didn't know anything about it. You let them poke you. And you're a youngin'. Why did you do that? Your religion conditioned you for that. Your religious training conditioned you for that. Why? Because you're taught to accept things and trust the elders, follow them. Even though you don't understand, do what they say. They know what's best for you. Right? When the fact is, you should not make a move until you know everything about it. Once you know everything about it, that's when you start taking action. But you've been conditioned to trust what you think are authority figures, not knowing that these people are your equals or even lower than you in the position or status as a subject. Your Genesis chapter 2, you're a man or a woman, you are superior to the human. They are subjects. You don't know what I'm talking about? Go back and watch all my content. Let's continue. Let me see how much time I got. All right. Still got time. So let's move on. Let's move on. Oh, so the way to deal with things that are happening and that will happen with you being treated like stock and chattel, things, objects, is to get to know yourself, right? Get to know yourself. Everything we discussed a few minutes ago. Okay, next subheading, moonstruck. Moonstruck, page 128. Like and share the video. Like and share the video. Subscribe if you have not. All right. Support the project to write the book of the law in ancient Ibaryath and then into modern English. I will myself remove all of the deception and lies, and I will add back in everything that's been taken out. Now, how do I know what's been taken out? Well, because it's in the Ibaryath. That's how I know. Simple, right? It's in the original language. So I can just put it back in modern English. Right now, it's not there. Clear? I'll remove all of the mythology where there's astrology. I'll show it. I'll show the escheat. I'll show the bills of attainder, references to estate, everything. All right? In simple modern day English with the Ibaryath there and the English rendering of those words and the etymological meaning of those words, parts of speech, the whole 9 yards, just like I do with all of my books. You'll be able to look at it. If you want to see what I'm talking about, order one of my I Can Read Deuteronomy chapter 28 books. Order one of those or order all of them. And you'll see the format that I'll use. Okay? You'll see the format that I'll use to write the book of the law. But not just that, I'm going to add some things to it so that you can read it. Well, just take a look. Right now, just worry about that. You want to know the format, you'll be able to check everything. You don't have to rely on what the translator says. It'll be all there for you. Okay? All there for you. So be sure to support that if you feel it in your heart. Support it. Okay? Also, go out, buy my books. I have links to some of my books in the description area of the video. Also, subscribe to the one-on-one Ancient Ibaryath course. It sure would help if you learn something about linguistics as related to being able to translate and interpret scriptures. The one-on-one Ancient Ibaryath course is specifically for that purpose. It is not religious at all. All right, it's based in science, linguistics, okay? So go do that for yourself. And then also come to the 506 Curses course on Saturday. Every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, come and learn. It won't cost you a thing. Make sure you register and read the course description and be prepared to participate and learn. Let's go back into it. Moonstruck. Matthew's version of this story at Matthew chapter 17, verse 14 through 21, adds another dimension according to Matthew. The young man is not harboring a dumb spirit. Okay? So Mark says the young man is harboring a dumb spirit. Mark doesn't say that. As Mark says, he is moonstruck. I'm not going to even try to pronounce this word. Let me show it. Do y'all see that? Pause the video, take a look at it. All right. That's an important word for this paragraph. Okay, so let's continue. Okay? As Mark says, he is moonstruck, and we're given I guess this is the Greek word, a term which has perplexed commentators and translators, so much so that the boy's condition is generally considered to be epilepsy, since epileptic seizures were thought to be influenced by the moon. Okay, so those of you who again would say that the planets or the moon has no effect on human physiology or psychology, well, here's an example, according to this author, of where it does. The moon can affect epilepsy. In other words, it can cause you to have an epileptic episode. And it interferes with the electrochemical transmissions of your neurons, of your nervous system. All right, let's continue. Since epileptic seizures were thought to be influenced by the moon, but the Greeks had a perfectly good word for epilepsy, so that's not the reason, right? That's not why they used this Greek word, the one I showed you. So the Greeks actually used the word epilepsy to refer to epilepsy. And presumably Matthew could have used this word. In other words, Matthew just could have used the word epilepsy if he wanted to. However, there is the intriguing possibility that Matthew used this Greek word that I showed y'all for a different reason. A reason connected with Leo's principal star, Regulus. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. Matthew used that word because it has to do with Regulus, which is Leo's principal star. All right? Which lies directly on the ecliptic. The ecliptic, again, is the sun's orbit. Its annual orbit. Okay, that's the ecliptic. So Regulus is situated on the ecliptic, the sun's apparent path in the sky, and the belt of the sky through which all planets, including the sun, sun, and moon, seem to move. Which means that it is occulted. Okay, so occult means hidden. Which means that Regulus is hidden from the eye, right? Which means that a Regulus is hidden from your eyes by the sun. So here's Regulus, and here's the sun. Now you cannot see Regulus, right? But when the sun is gone, now you can see Regulus. Okay, when it's here again, you cannot. That's what he's talking about. Occulted, hidden. All right? Including the sun and moon seem to move. That's the ecliptic. Which means that Regulus is occulted or hidden by the sun every year, sometime around August 22nd. Y'all hear that? So every August 22nd or so, Regulus will be behind the sun so that you cannot see it. And then next year, August 22nd, 2019, 23, somewhere around there, the sun will be right here, and now it's hidden again. Okay? And even more frequently by the moon. Okay, so same concept, the moon. Here's Regulus. So the moon is going to hide Regulus too. Not just once a year, but several times a year, the moon will occult or hide Regulus. Regulus, quote, the little king, quote, the prince, symbolizes the grandeur of the human soul. Now, you know we are not human, we are man and woman, and you know we don't have a soul, we have what? We have an energy pack, a miniature sun inside of us that gives us heat and energy. The same function that the sun, the disk in the sky provides to Mother Earth, the sun inside of us provides to us. So no, we have no soul. That's a trick that the Catholic Church played, as you should know by now. They added a U into the Latin S-O-L and gave the word soul, and then they held you on the hook. They said, if you don't do everything we say in our doctrine, you're going to burn in hell. Your soul will burn eternally in hell. If you do everything we say, you go to heaven and you get all of these wonderful things, right? So let's get rid of this. So Regulus symbolizes the grandeur of the human soul. No, it doesn't. So what does Regulus symbolize? We need to figure that out. All right? Which perceives its own royal nature. So this is saying that the human soul perceives its own royal nature on the Mount of Transfiguration. Okay, so having read that, it appears to me that Regulus is not the human soul, but actually Genesis chapter 2, man and woman in the physical. You are Regulus. You are the king, the prince. You are the king and the prince, and JC in the Transfiguration represents we Moors from all of the families, all of the nations of Moors, all Genesis chapter 2 Moors, in our what? In our proper status, in possession of all that belongs to us, the entire earth, etc. Okay, so that transfiguration image is actually us in the blessings. Deuteronomy chapter 28, 1 through 4. This is what it appears to be, in my opinion, right now. Because it's certainly not a human. It's not Han Uman, the half monkey, half man, the Dogon, the Raphaim. It is not that. And we don't have a soul. But who are we? We are gods. Psalms 82:6. Even the Christ figure acknowledged that. So Regulus, Rex, is us in our proper status, with or in possession and control of the earth and all resources and energies on it, which is the way it's supposed to be. Know yourself. Accept this. Accept it. Don't say I'm tripping. All right? So let's again, Regulus, the little king, the prince, symbolizes the grandeur, I'm not going to say human soul, I'm going to say of the Moor, which perceives his or her own royal nature on the Mount of the Transfiguration, but which, on descending the mountain, going down into your lower self, is brought once more into the conflict and uncertainties of daily life, where it begins to illuminate by the sun, S-U-N. It, that means the Moor, is struck by the moon. The challenges and obstacles of life, because you still got to live here. Losing faith, it or he or she, losing faith in its own or his or her own inherent divinity. Losing faith in your own divinity, that you are your own God, that you are divine. You've been hit. You're experiencing some trauma. People trying to make you fail. They lock you up. People turn against you who should support you. They betray you. And now you lose faith in your own divinity. You begin to doubt. Stuff don't work. As it becomes re-entangled, as you, the Moor, becomes re-entangled in the minutiae of mundane existence, as you go back to the dirty, rotten stuff that you used to do, or go back to the doubt, go back to Christianity. You want to take a break, or you're totally broken, shattered. Whereas the S-U-N sun rules maturity. Y'all got that? The mature person is enlightened, giving mastery and direction to action. That's what the sun does. The sun gives mastery and direction. Why? Because you can see everything. Everything is observable, so you know it. You apply your faculty of reasoning and your God faculty, your creative faculty to it. Now you master. you have direction. Not like this scatterbrain, but straight direction. The moon, by contrast, rules infancy, where its changeability and the imperfection and inarticulate state of its soul. All right, that's lower self, okay? This is coming from Ptolemy 4, section 10. To the ancient astrologers, the moon represented flux and inconsistency, but also habit. Habit. The instinctive, deadening, thoughtless, reactive response to experience. I need to check the time. All right. Whenever we are at the mercy of instinct or habit, when we are swayed by prejudice, or when we act automatically and without thought, we are quote unquote moonstruck. Moonstruck, again, is acting out of emotion, out of instinct, okay, and out of prejudice. You are moonstruck, sadly, but realistically, this is the normal human condition. Now, I would disagree with that. That is not the normal condition of Moors, of man. That is learned behavior. Now, that may be the normal condition for the hybrid, but not for the Moor. And it can only be overcome, notice this, it can only be overcome, as the gospel text clearly tells us, by consistent spiritual practice. Now, I already went over the spiritual practice. I strongly disagree with overcoming it by spiritual practice. Again, prayer, forgetting about all your needs, focusing on other people's needs. That automatically means you got to be in their business, right? And y'all know where that's going to go. And doing what? Going out and preaching, teaching, recruiting other people to build the camp, the church, the mosque. There's no way you can succeed in that. That's a prescription for failure. Now, can you find happiness in being impoverished? Yes, you can accept it, and you can be happy in that. But you can also find happiness and be happy, even happier, in having an abundance and knowing exactly who you are and using all of the faculties in your mind and taking ownership of the earth and all of its resources and energies. There's also a tremendous amount of happiness in that. So why suffer? This is ridiculous. I'm Dr. DrYasapa from Zion Law School, Islam to all the Moors, and Shalom. We have completed Leo. So we're going to come back. Our next chapter is Virgo. Next, we're going to deal with Virgo. All right, this is coming up in the next episode.